Hi guys, welcome back to Battle with Ola. This is Mujala Olua and I'm super thrilled to be here today. Today I want to discuss a very important case. This is a judicial precedence video. If you don't know what that is, on this channel there's a playlist, a series titled Judicial Precedence, where we discuss cases that have been decided by the courts. We talk about decided cases that are locus classicus. We've also done a video on what locus classicus is, and we also talk about very interesting decided cases. And today we want to talk about the case of Akintola and Anyiam. It's a very important case. It's a very interesting case. I'd wanted to do a video on Adigbenro and Akintola, which I'm going to do much later. Then I stumbled on Akintola and Anyiam, and I thought this is a very fantastic case, very interesting. I've read it over and over. So today let's talk about Chief S.L. Akintola and F.U. Anyiam. At the time this case, this judgment was pronounced, S.L. Akintola was the Premier of Western Region. That's the old Western Region in Nigeria. He is... I also found out that Akintola was a lawyer. It was called in 1950. This case was decided in 1961. And although he did not represent himself, I just thought to bring to the fore that very important fact. Samuel Ladoke Akintola was a lawyer. It was called in 1950. How interesting. The Nigerian bar is really, really old. And I'm excited to be a part of that bar. You know, it's been how many years since Samuel Akintola was called? That's about 74 years now since Samuel Ladoke Akintola was called. Of course, it's by decades. My senior at the bar, but just excited to learn that fact. I learned it this year actually. Probably I knew it before, I just didn't pay attention to it, but I looked him up in the app, the Nigerian Bar Association app, and I found it. Wow, Akintola was, amongst other things, you know, a lawyer, because I knew that he was Premier of Western Region. I know his antecedents and all of that, but now to know that he's a lawyer, I also know his son, who is one of his sons, who is a judge. You know, I've done a rape matter before when I was part of a prosecution team. So very fantastic judge too. So today let's talk about S.L. Akintola and F.U. Anyiam. It's a defamation case bordering particularly on libel. We've talked about this defamation on this channel. Defamation is a very current legal topic. It's a topic that will keep coming up because, you know, it's just the way of being, because human beings, you know, tend to, you know, do things like that. So defamation is broken down into libel and slander. Libel is the printed version, while slander is the oral verbal version. So today we want to talk about libel. So what happened in this case? Let's get right into it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and bring your friends along. Share these videos, share the channel with your friends, with all and sundry. Let's have a big happy family. Thank you to all our subscribers. Thank you to all our members. We'll commit to making more members only videos now that we're getting more members. And thank you to all those who book paid consultations to get tailored legal advice. Thank you to those who continue the conversation in the comment section, to those who like the video, because that's also one activity that can easily be overlooked. Thank you so much for liking the videos. Thank you. This is Battle with Ola, and my name is Mujala Olua. What happened in S.L. Akintola and F.U. Anyiam? In that case, S.L. Akintola, the Premier of Western Region, then, as he then was, had sued F.U. Anyiam for a publication of a booklet about notable Nigerians, wherein he had described Chief Akintola as being born by Chief Sawe of Elisha and Alice. That was his parentage. Those were his father and mother, which was not true, and so he had sued him for libel. He had claimed that publication casts a doubt on his parentage and his legitimacy, and much so, you know, he was a politician. Very important. So what is libel? Libel is any printed or written statement that defames another person. We talked about defamation on the channel. Defamation is libel and slander. Libel being the printed one, slander being, or the written one, slander being the verbal or the oral one. So here we had libel. So if you have printed or written something about someone which harms their reputation, it is libel. It does not matter if it is the truth, and it doesn't matter your intent. So these things are not defense. Oh, I didn't mean to, not a defense. Oh, it's the truth anyways. not the truth. If it harms the person's reputation, they can sue you for libel. So Chief Akintola sued FU Anyiam for libel. So what really happened? What happened was that in 1960, FU Anyiam wanted to publish a book on notable Nigerian celebrities. So he had reached out to Chief S.L. Akintola by letter saying that, oh, we want to publish this certain publication. So please, can you give us a brief history of yourself and a photograph? So S.L. Akintola's secretary had replied and enclosed a short note about his boss and a photograph. Then he had said that if you want a blog about my boss, just write to Amalgamated Press. I will send this letter to them so that when you get to them, they will accord you audience. So according to Anyiam, he had reached out to Amalgamated Press, who and then one person there had given him a short piece of paper where I had written the information that he asked for about Chief S.L. Akintola, and on that paper he had written that he was born by Chief Sawe of Elisha and Alice. And so FUIM went on to publish his book, Some Nigerian Celebrities. So on page 39, that's where that of Akintola came up. So S.L. Akintola claimed that after the publication came out in 1960, his friends had contacted him and said, oh, so you mean you're not from, originally he's from Ubumosho. So he had been contesting on the basis of being a native of Ubumosho. So the people of Ubumosho, the electorate of Ubumosho, have been voting for him as their representative, you know. So when that publication came out, he claimed that his friends had reached out to him. When he saw it also, he was shocked. And then his friends had reached out to him and said, oh, so you've been deceiving us. You're not even from Ubumosho. So you are from Elisha. So your father is Chief Sawe. So your mother is Alice. So, and then he now claimed that this thing has brought him disrepute. He had made him look like a liar to his friends, to his supporters as a politician, his well-wishers, his electorate. And it was calculated to deceive and to, you know, malign him, and so on and so forth. And he now wrote through his lawyers that FU Anyiam should issue an apology in a newspaper. And they put a draft of the apology where they basically wanted him to say that, oh, I'm sorry, this publication is false, it's not true. And then they made a demand of a £1,000 compensation from him. That was 1960. Nigeria just got independence October of that year. So pounds was, you know, the British currency that Nigeria was spending there. And so when FUIM did not comply with their letter, rather he issued his own publication in the newspaper that he titled Correction, not an apology, Correction. It was basically saying that, oh, that it was a mistake that he had put Chief Sawe of Elisha and Alice, that's not the parentage of S.L. Akintola. And so Akintola's lawyers then sued FUIM because he had not complied with their letter for an apology and payment of compensation. So when this case came to court, FUIM was contending that, oh, I've issued an apology. So they said, no, that's not, I've issued a correction rather. I said, no, that's not what we asked for. What we asked for was that you should pay £1,000, that you should issue an apology, not a correction. Also, in court, now that the case was in court, Akintola was claiming that this publication had done damage to his reputation. People who have supported his political ambitions and moves either to now believe that he had lied to them about his parentage and that he had swindled them. You know, in politics, these things are very important. It's easy. You could write a line and that could be the end of a political career. So very important. S.L. Akintola by this lawsuit was demanding the sum of £20,000 as damages for the harm done to his reputation by the libelous publication by FU Anyiam. So he gave evidence and he also called 3 witnesses. In giving evidence, he said that he wanted to prove to the court that the correct position is that his father and mother are Solomon Akintola and Mubolade Akintola Ne Oyeniya, who are natives of Ubumosho. He also claimed that when the publication came out, his friends, people who had been voting for him over the years, felt like he had deceived them and felt that he had lied to them about his parentage and his nativity. And when he had written through his solicitors to FU Anyiam about this issue, asking for compensation and asking for an apology, including a draft of the apology. F.U. Anyiam had ignored his letter, had not paid the compensation, and had not published the apology, the draft that his lawyers included. Rather, he had published what he wanted to publish, and that he had even gone on to keep selling that booklet, and had even produced a second edition wherein he did not correct his information despite his objection. So this and so many other things he had said before the court, and he brought witnesses who came to court to testify that they actually felt deceived when they read that he was born by Chief Sawe of Ilesha and Alice, that they had either two believed that he was a native of Ubumosho, and they had been voting for him from year to year on that basis. They believed he was a son of the soil, and that they felt that he had deceived them and he was an impostor, So F.U. Anyiam also gave evidence. He gave evidence on his own. He said that actually he had reached out to Akintola, just what I have narrated, that he had reached out to him before publication, and then Akintola directed him to Amalgamated Press for further information, and that someone at Amalgamated Press had given him a piece of paper. He didn't call that someone in evidence, and he did not tender the piece of paper in evidence. So he said that that person had, given him the piece of paper where they had written Chief Sawe of Ilesha and Alice as the parents of Akintola, and that upon finding out that he had stopped the selling of the rest of the publication, and that he had also, made a publication, an apology in the newspaper. So he was claiming that those words were not actionable per se. He was also claiming that there was accord and satisfaction, that he had complied with the demands of the claimant or plaintiff, as they then were called, before the matter even came to court, and that the publication was a mistake and he had no intention to defame. So the court had to decide on a number of things. The court had to decide if a case of libel and defamation had been established by the plaintiff, on whom is the burden of proof to establish that there was a defamatory publication, it was hurtful to his reputation indeed, and to justify his demands for damages. The court had to decide if the libelous publication was made maliciously. The court had to decide if there was really accord and satisfaction like the defendant was claiming, amongst other things. So let's take these things one after the other, and then we round up the video. So libel, defamation. We've said that libel is printed defamation, written defamation. How do you prove it? The publication has to be tendered in evidence. You have to tender what was published. You have to prove that what was published is hurtful to your reputation, and that it was actually published. That is, there were people who read it, members of the public who read it, who saw it with their own eyes, who read it, and you have to prove that because of this publication, your reputation has been hurt. That is, in the perception of those members of public who read it, you had now been brought low when you were highly esteemed before. That's the importance of Chief Akintola's bringing three witnesses. One was a clerk in his office. The other was a customary court secretary in Ikirum. And then one was a building contractor in Ubumosho. So you can see this is spread across the western region to show that these people, they received these publications independently, they read it, and this was the effect that it had on my reputation, in their perception, in their minds. So he did that. He satisfied all that requirement for proving libel, and then the court had to decide on malice. Was there malice in the publication by Anyiam? The court decided that the publication was malicious because F.U. Anyiam could have easily verified the information. He could have easily verified the information, but he did not. Rather, he chose to run with it and published it nonetheless. Also, one can imply or infer, that, if when it was written to, you could have stopped the publication, or in the second edition, you could have corrected it, but it did not. And it could have even published the draft apology if it was sincerely and genuinely sorry, but it did not. Neither did he pay the damages. Also, the court had to decide on accord and satisfaction. To claim accord and satisfaction, the court held that you had to show that you had accorded or complied with the requirement for redress that was placed before you by the aggrieved party. So They had asked for two things in their letter: publish this draft apology that we have sent to you and pay us £1,000. The court held that he did not do any of the two. So he published his own correction and titled it correction, which was not an apology, and he did not pay the £1,000. So he cannot claim to have accorded with and satisfied their request or requirement for redress. The court also held that his claim that it was a mistake and he had no intention to defame would not hold water. So in proving libel or defamation generally, it does not matter whether there's mens rea, that's a guilty mind. So even if you had no intention of defaming, or even if it was a mistaken publication, like Anyiam claimed here, it is of no moment. And so the courts awarded damages to Akintola against FU Anyiam. So this is a case that shows to us what libel is all about. Libel is a serious offense, and the burden of proof is on the claimant or the plaintiff to prove that indeed there was a publication, not just a conjecture, a publication. It was made public, the public read it, and in their minds, my reputation or the claimant's reputation was harmed, was hurt, was reduced, and damaged. And then he or she can ask for damages. Also, it will not avail the defendant to say it was a mistake, it was an omission, there was no intent, as we have seen in this case. So that's all I have for you in this video. I hope you've learned a thing or two about the printed or written branch of defamation. I will see you in my very next video. Bring a friend along to battle with Ola. Let's continue the conversation in the comment section, and don't forget to check the description box so that you can see all the goodies that we have for you in this channel. Toodles!